The Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council is now called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before starting the meeting, I thought, unprepared here, it was just suggested it's a great idea. I thought I would make a statement about what our state and our community has been through these last 3-4 days. And I just really want to say that our hearts are heavy with grief. Many of us knew Melissa quite well. I did not know John. I did talk to Senator Swedzinski Saturday morning, and he knew John really well and just said one of the finest senators there. And of course, sounds like doing better and fighting for his life. But just to say then our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with Melissa Hortman and Mark's family, and then also with the full recovery of John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. So maybe just brief few second moment of silence for them and for our state and ultimately for democracy. Thank you for indulging me with that. At this time of the meeting, it's customary that I would make read a paragraph on open podium. Open podium is an opportunity for Eden Prairie residents to address the City Council on issues related to Eden Prairie City government. These occur prior to each council meeting. Council meetings typically occur the first and third meeting of each month, though not in the summer. The open podiums occur from 6:30 to 6:55 here in the council chamber. If you wish to speak at open podium, please contact the city manager's office at 952-949-8412, then by noon of the meeting date with your name, your phone number, and subject matter so we can be better prepared for you. Open podium is not recorded or televised. If you have any questions about open podium, please do contact the city manager's office. Mr. Getchell, this next part of the agenda is one of the more enjoyable things we do throughout the year. And of course, this is an annual occasion. And I will add right up front that you brought the Citizens Academy concept to the city of Eden Prairie. I believe you took it with you out of Hopkins, if I have that correct. By the way, did they continue it or did it stop when you left?
Mayor, I believe they kept doing it.
Okay, but so not the way and as good as we do it, I'm sure.
I'm sure I'm sure they continue to do a great job.
All right. Well, we thank you though for bringing it here, and it's an incredible program, and it's exciting tonight to be part of the graduation program.
If this would be funny for some people, but when I left Hopkins, they also wanted to bring their landfill garbage from Hopkins to Eden Prairie, and you said no, but they let us bring the Citizen Academy.
Yeah, we did.
To Eden Prairie, if you remember that. You and Kathy were on the council.
They closed a landfill basically downtown. Most of Hopkins is all downtown because you're not that large, but they closed that and they wanted to bring the contents of that down to Flying Cloud and put it into our landfill. The state thought that was a great idea, but we did not.
And the Hopkins city manager did too, but not the Eden Prairie city manager.
So we stopped that. Yay!
We digress.
Yes, we do.
The Eden Prairie Citizen Academy is the 6th year, and it dates back to 2018. So they did take a few years to get it off the ground, and there were also a few years with COVID where we weren't able to get together. But this is civic engagement, the ability for residents of the community to be able to kind of come together, and residents that are willing to commit 25 hours, 6 evenings three, 4 hours, 6 evenings in a row to Eden Prairie. This isn't one night or 2 nights here or there. It's 6 evenings, not including graduation, to get a behind the scenes look, a brief behind the scenes look at the city. And we kind of structure this department by department. So opening night, we call city council and administration night, and mayor, you're there on the first night and the last night. You provide that welcome, and graduates or soon-to-be graduates, you're up here at the end of that first evening, and you take part in a city council meeting. You get a taste of what it's like to be a city council member in this chamber, and to get a feel for what it's like to go through a public hearing.
And who was the mayor that night?
The-
Yes, I wanted.
Yeah, there he is.
We'll talk
Yep.
later. I just wanted
Yeah,
to
he's
kind of
back
know
there.
what the opposition might be here down the road. So it sounds like you did really well.
He made his opinion known right away, actually, following the public hearing. But either way, so yeah, in a fire night and a public works night, and a community development night, a parks and recreation night, a community development night, a police night, and a fire night, kind of to run through those evenings. And really, our directors would tell you this in those departments, that it's an evening for our employees to also be able to show the academy members. They enjoy it just as well, to be able to show what we do in the community. So it's something that we really enjoy as well. And also, these are, and I'm going to explain what we're going to do in a second, but it's also, these are people that are also our future volunteers in the community. We see, now it's probably, I mentioned 6 classes, so this is probably now up to at least 150 people over 6 years that have gone through this academy. People that have become election judges, a few that have even joined our fire department, police reserves, people that have chosen to possibly join city commissions, get involved in a lot of city activities, and we want them to do that, because people that understand their local government, trust their local government, make the community a much better community. Also, I think I was able to be at each and every session, not every minute of every session, but someone else who was at every session that deserves a very special thank you, and who helped organize everything, put everything together, communicated with each and every graduate. Sarah Potter over there, thank you. She is the person that kept it going, kept it running, put it together, and you guys know that. The graduates know that. So for those of you out there that are watching and watch this graduation, we will do this again next year. We actually may have a waiting list, though, so you may have to wait until 2028 to do this, because I think we have people who want to do this in 2026 and 27, but we will continue to do this. So mayor and council, if we can do this, and we've done this in the past, if you could come down, we are going to come down and line up and present the diplomas to the graduates. I'm going to come down as well, and then I'm going to read your names in alphabetical order, so you know how that's going to work. And then each of you are going to come up and shake the hands of each council member, and then you're going to receive your diploma. And if you want to say a word or 2 or 3 into the microphone, you can do so on your way back to your seat. And then we're going to do that one by one, and then you can go back to your seat. And I promised you that all of you are going first, because right after you receive your diplomas, you are going to have your graduation picture and your graduation celebration immediately after. And I remember, I think after the last session, I think I was there when you were trying to plan an after party as well. So I'll be coming down to for the diplomas. So I want to mention too, not everybody could be here tonight. And it's important that we kind of keep the group at around, 20 to 25 people because there's tours and there's a lot of hands-on activities. So we were able to do that, but not everybody could be at graduation. Not everybody could make every evening. But I think we have a pretty good turnout at graduation. But we are going to start with our first graduate. Please come on up and start over with Lisa and make your way through Deborah Aldrich. Oh, yeah, we can clap. Yep.
Want them over there then?
Well, they can go back and sit down. Oh,
What if we had a few words?
oh, absolutely.
You said I could have one or two or three words.
absolutely.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I just wanted to say that this was a great opportunity. It's the first time I heard about it. I got in the first time I applied for it. I think everything that we're offering to the citizens, to the community, to be able to do this and kind of pull the curtain back a little bit is super helpful. But the one thing, when I was thinking about this, that tied everything together is that everybody that we met with in every department was so proud and so happy to be able to be a part of this program with Eden Prairie. From the snowplow drivers to the water treatment plant. So it was spectacular, and I can see why Eden Prairie is voted regularly, 12 years in a row now, I think, as being one of the best places to work. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, our next graduate is Mitchell Andreessen.
I just want to say that as a new resident, this was a super valuable experience, and I had a great time learning about the city. So yeah, thank you.
Come on up, Tim Butel.
Yeah, real quick. Thank you. This is incredible because I've lived here a long time, 35 years, and I've always liked it here. It's been an incredible place to live. But to go through these 6 classes, and you named all the departments that we got to be with, so I won't do that because I probably wouldn't remember them all right now. But just to have it all come together the way it all does here in the city, and what you all do as elected officials, but also as a support with the administration and the management and the directors, it's just incredible, and that's why it works. It's not just the work you're doing, it's your personalities all blend so well, which was just mentioned a minute ago. Thank you so much.
All right, next we have Shapali Bhakta.
I'm a resident of 20 years, and now I know why I love this place so much. I think everybody has said it's a wonderful community run so seamlessly, so thank you.
Our next graduate, Nancy Bulwig.
I've always been proud to live in Eden Prairie, but this reinforces why it is such a great city. Thank you, Rick, for doing this.
By the way, you're not guilt-tripped into speaking.
No. No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Sarah asked you to. It's hard to say no, right? Rachel Christian.
I have to say, I didn't know what to expect when I signed. I was like, I walked through the website and I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's a thing. I put my name in. Sarah called me, and I think I had to pull over when she called me. I was like, what? You picked me? You picked me to go? And I said, absolutely yes. And fortunately, I was able to make most of the sessions. But it was so refreshing to be able to see and to ask questions directly about the things that you wonder every day. I've been here for 6 years. Minnesota resident most of my life. But Eden Prairie, this is fantastic. And by far the best water treatment plant I've ever seen. So kudos. And that guy loves his job. It was amazing. Thank you very much for this.
All right, next we have Amanda Gerald.
Thank you to the organizers and the presenters and for the opportunity. And I am sorry to my friends who have to hear Eden Prairie fun facts for the rest of their lives.
Next graduate, Andy Ginder. Our next graduate is John Jarvis.
So this is a very timely presentation. I just noticed in the Star Tribune that the Sunday insert, Eden Prairie was mentioned of only 3 cities in the entire listing, and we were number 1. Well, there was Chaska, Bloomington, and Eden Prairie. We were the number 1. Yeah. There you go. But, and I thought it's interesting that we're all neighbors here, so I think maybe there's a little friendly competition that keeps raising the bar. So thank you all. You've got to be proud of that.
Next graduate, Raj Kumar Kurapati.
Thank you very much. I want to sincerely say thank you to Eden Prairie and all the council members and all that. This is really a great opportunity like us. Always tell to everybody that Eden Prairie is so great. But I never realized that, okay, how goes behind the scenes, like all the departments, how they are. It's really great opportunity to meet the persons behind the scenes and then get to know each other. I would say last minute, I came as a resident, but I'm going after the City Academy as informed, inspired as a citizen. Thank you.
Samantha Olson.
Thank you for fulfilling my snowplow dream of, of being a driver. Give me a call next winter.
Yeah, I can arrange that. Yeah, with very close supervision. Our next graduate is Heike Peters.
I would definitely like to. I've been a super proud resident of Eden Prairie before, but I am much more appreciative, I think now, knowing how much work goes into running such a great city. And my special thanks to all of the department heads and all of the people that showed up for our sessions. It wasn't just us putting in the time. There were a lot of people. And Sarah, thank you for feeding us. So, thank you so much. Thank you.
Next graduate is LaDonna Rhodes.
Just saying thank you. I love Eden Prairie. We've been here knocking on 7 years, and I love it all the more. I appreciate all of you.
All right, next graduate, Lisa Robertson.
Just a quick note to you, though. My neighbors and my local family are going to be very disappointed at that long waiting list. So maybe like quarterly? Thank you.
Our next graduate is Kim Ross.
Okay, so this was about, I'm on the Eden Prairie School Board and have gotten to work with these guys on many occasions. And so I've always appreciated the vision and leadership we've had in our city through the 40 years that I've lived here. But going through this academy really helped me understand that it is the creativity and the commitment of the directors and staff of all these departments that make this city, you know, the trains here run on time. Well, they're not running yet, but you know. But that make this city what it is and a great place to live and raise a family. So thank you to you all.
Our next graduate is Yuvraj Shivtare.
Thank you so much for organizing this. It was such a great experience, and I'd like to reiterate with Lisa. She said, like, everyone across all the department that we met, everyone was so happy to work with Eden Prairie. Also, like, thank you for fulfilling my snowplow dream. Like.
Next, we have Walt Wagner.
So my words are going to be a little bit longer, but not too long. They fit on one page. The City Government Academy confirmed what I already knew as a 29-year resident. Eden Prairie is a wonderful city. And during the academy, each and every department demonstrated what makes this an excellent city. I'd like to single out, though, the Community Development Department. They're enthusiastically and proactively helping to fulfill the vision of the early city leaders that makes this a great place. So thank you to all of the departments, but I'd like to single out Julie and her department.
Don't forget your... You need to frame that. All right, we have two more. Andrew Wachowski.
Sure. Honorable Mayor Case, City Council members, my name is Drew Wachowski. I was born in Minneapolis, raised in Edina, and have lived in Eden Prairie with my wife and 2 young children back there since August of 2022. This past weekend's appalling murder of Representative Hortman and her husband served as another reminder of just how fragile life is and our time here on Earth. It's also a reminder of how resilient we can be when we come together as a community. City Manager Rick Getschow showed your program delivered. It's no wonder why you increased his base compensation 4.5% last year.
How much detail did you all get?
Rick, you are an incredible asset to this city, and congratulations on being recognized for the 12th straight year in a row for best workplace. I didn't see Edina on that list either this year. I'm thankful this program exists. It allowed me the opportunity to gain more insight into the city's past, present, and future. It exposed foundations that are working well and revealed complicated areas for improvement. I left each session with a renewed sense of understanding and would discuss with my newfound insight with family and friends, with neighbors, with colleagues, Uber drivers, you name it, I talk about. I feel lucky to call Eden Prairie my home. I feel positive about the direction the city's headed and have a greater understanding and appreciation for what it takes to make the city operate efficiently, legally, and safely. So thank you to my fellow graduates who made this so enjoyable as well.
And our last graduate, John Zierden.
How do you really follow such a wonderful...
Assuming you want to say something.
Well, very little. If you're the last, I'll keep it snappy. That was a wonderful sentiment, and I would hate to repeat anything less eloquently, so I will simply say thank you so very much for a wonderful opportunity to get an inside glimpse of Eden Prairie.
So I believe Joyce, everybody follow Joyce. Pictures, cake. Thank you guys so much. It's much appreciated. Graduating class of 2025, you are dismissed.
You can check with the chief of police on the way out the door, but I think if you leave that diploma on your dashboard around Eden Prairie when next time you're pulled over, I'm not sure, I don't know, but it might give you something, an advantage.
This is like 5 years old.
All right. Again, always enjoyable this evening. We do this once a year, so I'll say this to some of the ones walking out, but really it's to all of our residents. But to have, would you say, Rick, 150 graduates so far, something like that? Or
Yeah, my guess, Mayor, is if you've got 25 people, 6 years.
Sure, do the
150,
math.
yeah.
So 150 or so, and if you think about it, they know this city so much better than, well, in our case, even us about the snowplow driver, but they know the city so well that they become our advocates, our meaning the city of Eden Prairie and our ambassadors, and we just so appreciate having them be that knowledgeable and be out in the community. So, all right, Mr. Getcho, item B, it's Tour de Tonka with Molly.
Thank you. Yes, I guess we could call this another annual event.
Yes.
We can. Molly, welcome. Molly's the coordinator of Minnetonka Preschool Early Childhood Family Education. She has been here, I don't know how many years now, it's been quite a few, promoting the Tour de Tonka event. And if that's okay, Mayor, I will turn things over to her.
Absolutely.
Thank
Welcome.
you. It's nice to see all of you. I'm always feeling very lucky to come on graduation night. It's just such a heartening experience to see all the cool things that are happening in your city and how engaged your community is. So thank you for inviting me tonight. This is my son, Jackson.
Hi, Jackson.
Jackson has special needs, so we'll see how well he stays quiet while I talk. So, yeah, okay, shush. Here we go. Does somebody have my PowerPoint? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so it is the 20th anniversary of Tour de Tonka this year. I have a clicker. I love it when I have a clicker. Fantastic. So we're celebrating this year. We have some exclusive 20th anniversary merchandise. We've got an archive display booth at our vendor fair, so people. Oh, thank you. So that you can kind of see the history. It's really fun. We have legacy riders that are still with us. I think we're in our. There's like 28 that have ridden every ride. So they'll be doing a group photo at the end, which is really neat. These are our sponsors for this year. A few of these are Eden Prairie businesses, so we say a big thank you for their support of this ride. We're throwing it back this year. Our first shirt tends to have some legacy hype. People really liked that first shirt, and so we're going for kind of a vintage design this year. I think many of you know, but we have a new executive director. Her name is Kim Carlson. She's been with us for about a year, so this will be her first Tour de Tonka. We keep telling her to buckle up because it's Tour de Tonka, and it's a really big event. We have 897 riders. We're up 7% year over year. We have riders from all of these states already registered, and we have 118 cities represented with our Minnesota riders. This year we have consolidated. As you all know, it's harder and harder to have these large events based on the number of volunteers and then support that we require from local law enforcement and other agencies. And so in order to keep it safe and keep it fun, we're kind of scaling it down. We'll have our 16-mile ride, which tends to be our family-focused ride. That registration will go up as we get closer to the event. A lot of families register same day or the day before because they want to see what the weather's going to be like, what kind of attitudes their kids are having in the moment. The 24 is new this year. It had been a kind of a 30-something mile ride. I'm hoping that we'll have more families with older kids who can ride along. And then the 40, the 58, and our 100-mile ride is still one of our higher registrations. It's great practice for people who are wanting to do century rides or who just want to cross that off their bucket list because it's such a fully supported ride. I mean, this is the only place you're going to gain weight while riding 100 miles because we're going to feed you so much food. So it's a really fun experience for them. Hey, Jackson. We travel through. Oh, yeah, shush. Okay, can you zip them? Thank you. We're going to travel through 4 counties and 25 cities. We are riding on 143 unique roads and trail miles. So as you know, the road construction and all the things that happen are just part of summer. We really keep our eyes out, and we have... Nope, shush. We have a lot of need for volunteers to help us to with our ride and route captains just to make sure that people are safe on the roads. So we need over 600 volunteers to make this happen. And that's really my big ask for all of you is I really wish next year I could go before the graduation because that seems like a large group of people that might want to volunteer. So next year maybe we can do that. They're my captive audience. So anybody who's interested, we have really short shifts to longer shifts. We need help at our rest stops. If you have a local business that you want to promote, you can sponsor a rest stop, and we will send that information out to riders so that they can participate and learn more about your business. So we have this QR code. We have an awesome new registration system for volunteers this year that makes it really simple. So you go in, you put in your information, and then you can choose what you want to do. We'll get confirmed and get all the information via email. So since the inception in 2006, Tour de Tonka has raised over $100,000 for the ICA food shelf. This year, we're working really hard to kind of hype that and see if we can increase on the 20th anniversary and bring in even more for the food shelf. We want to say a special thank you to our law enforcement and safety partners. It's really incredible how much time they give to help make this a safe event. We are a lot of bikes on the road, and while some people think this is the most amazing thing that ever happened, some people also think it is the worst thing that happens on there Saturday in August. And so having all of that support really helps us to keep everybody safe. So it is August 2nd. We will hopefully see all of you there this year, either in a volunteer capacity or as riders. Has anybody ridden the event? Okay, you got time to train. 16 miles is nothing. He and I do 16 miles every weekend. So it's nice to see all of you. Thank you for letting Jackson join me tonight.
Hey, Jackson.
Jackson.
Jackson, over here. Jackson, do you play baseball?
Come this way.
Jackson, do you wear baseball hats? I just got this brand new. Would you like this? Would you like a brand new baseball hat? Yeah. You may have that.
I think
Looks good on you. All right.
Yeah, I think we all know Grandpa Dan. I think we all do. We all know Grandpa Dan. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Good luck to you this year. Great. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Getchell, I think we're on to resolution accepting parks and recreation spring donations, or do you want me to turn it right over to Amy?
Right over to Amy.
Right over to Amy. Ms. Merkel, go. Mrs. Merkel, Ms. whatever, doctor, I think. Go ahead.
Dr. Merkel. Thank
I
you,
like
Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are asking for a resolution to accept our 2025 spring quarter donations to the Parks and Recreation Department. We had Health Source of Eden Prairie generously donate $50 to our senior bingo program. Home Instead donated $200 to the Senior Center Shred Truck. We had our Eden Prairie Community Center Parkinson's Program participants. They came together and raised $2,000 for membership scholarships for people with Parkinson's and equipment for our Parkinson's program. T-Mobile generously donated $7,500 for July 3rd and 4th for the hometown celebration.
Wow.
The Gaston Company donated $250 towards our senior center bingo. And lastly, J.A. Price Agency donated $1,000 towards our 3rd and 4th of July hometown celebration for a total of $11,000. And all of these funds will be put towards enhancing our special events and bringing down costs so our residents have really little to no cost to fully engage and participate in these events. So thank you to everyone who generously gave to our events and programs.
Wow, and I know that at 4th of July last year, T-Mobile had a canopy or a tent or something. I'm assuming they'll be back again. So I would just encourage residents, but also all of us on the council to stop in there and just thank them again, because they really do contribute significantly in this way in donations to our community. So, and thank you to all the others as well. It does help our tax dollar go further. With that, we need a motion then to accept these 2025 Parks and Rec donations.
I'll move to adopt a resolution accepting multiple second quarter 2025 donations to Parks and Recreation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, well, let's just vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, all right. Okay, moving on to agenda. I know that Councilmember Narayan has one item to add under Councilmember reports. Is there anything else to add? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
With the addition of...
With the addition.
Yep. Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, moving on to the minutes. We had 2 from the workshop and the meeting held back on May 20th. Any items to question, any edits, comments you want to make about the agenda? I'm trying to get it out the council minutes.
Move to approve the following city council minutes.
All right, is there,
City Council Workshop held Tuesday.
keep going.
I thought you asked.
I'm just not paying attention. Go ahead.
May 20, 2025, City Council meeting held Tuesday, May 20, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Consent calendar, items that are very important, but we clump them together because they're fairly routine. But council, any of the consent calendar items you wish to learn more about, question, pull for an individual vote, anything? If not, is there a motion to approve items A to M?
Move to approve items A to M in the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, let me just, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, public hearings and meetings. We've got a couple, I would say a little bit smaller, and then a couple that maybe are not. So, Mr. Getchell.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Start with the first one. Dell Road, MUSA guide plan change. I am going to turn it over to Julie in a second. She has a few slides, but I'm going to do a quick intro. During the review of the sewer extension permit for our Dell Road project, you're very familiar with the Dell Road project, the Met Council noted a discrepancy with the MUSA boundary versus the boundary that is on their map. So there were 7 properties that were going to receive sanitary sewer that were outside the MUSA boundary, and a property has to be within MUSA to receive sewer. So we're bringing an amendment forward that adopts what the Met Council boundary is. So Julie does have a few slides that she's going to run through. This did go to the Planning Commission, and they unanimously recommended approval of this resolution to make the guide plan change at their May 27th meeting. You are going to be required to hold a public hearing and then make this guide plan change that's required.
Got it. Council, any questions before we do open this up?
Well, Mayor, Julie has a
Julie,
couple slides.
would you add some of your comments first?
I would be happy to, and I have a few slides that I'd like to share as well. So as Mr. Getchell mentioned, this came to our attention as a part of the Dell Road improvements that are being made, and an application was submitted to the Met Council for a sewer extension. And that's when we became aware of a mapping discrepancy between the city's MUSA boundary and the Met Council's documented MUSA boundary. So if we can take a look at some of these slides, this shows the existing condition. So the MUSA boundary is the city's municipal urban service area, that area which sewer and water can be extended to. So on this slide, the red line indicates where the city has mapped the MUSA boundary. As you can see, it's very circuitous and follows a bit of a topographic line. Those properties that are north of the MUSA boundary, that light yellow color, means that they are guided for low-density residential development. And then correspondingly, the property that is south of the MUSA boundary, that's kind of the light green area, is guided for rural because there's not intended to be any sewer connection south of that line. Next slide indicates with that kind of mustard color what the Met Council has documented as our MUSA boundary. So as you can see, it impacts the same properties. It just moves a little farther south and actually is additionally beneficial to provide sewer access to a few of those properties that currently have homes on them, but we're outside of that MUSA boundary. So the amendment before you asks you to accept the Met Council's documented MUSA boundary, and then also make an adjustment to the low density residential guiding for those properties, that area between the current MUSA boundary on the city's map and the Met Council's MUSA boundary, so that that area would switch from rural to low density residential. And so we are asking for your vote to approve that amendment, and then we would submit that to the Met Council in order to help facilitate the issuance of the sewer extension permit.
So I'm confused a little bit in that the Met Council maps, they're the Bible. So if we had something slightly different, why didn't we just say, oh, you guys are right, and be done, and not even go through this process?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we did. And The Met Council's response was, we need you to go through the public hearing process in order to make sure we have checked all the boxes. So we did advocate for that rather heartily, but I'm happy to be in front of you tonight, sharing their desires.
I'm happy you're here. So I'm not advocating for deceitful, whatever, but I mean, how would they have ever known?
Because we had submitted a sewer extension permit as part of the Dell Road
And it
improvements.
showed our maps.
And as you can see by this slide,
Got it.
a couple of the properties are
Get it.
solely outside, completely outside of the
Totally
MISA.
get it.
So
I
that
just didn't
is
know
what
how they
triggered
ever
it.
found out because their maps show what we want in the end. Okay. Interesting that somewhere along the way, they did what we always wanted, just to flatten it out rather than follow the topo map, guideline or whatever. Curious about that someday. It's a history question. Okay. Anything else, Julie? I'll take
Just got a
questions.
quick question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Julie, once the services are available, there's a mandatory hookup, am I right? Mayor Case, I can probably address that question. So there will not be a mandatory hookup. We will, it will be provided. We know certain properties want to hook up as soon as possible. Others have an existing septic system that has several years of life on it. And services will be available when they opt to connect. Now, if their septic system were to fail, then we would look at requiring them to hook up. But right now, that's not the case for any of the property owners. Thank you.
Any other questions before we open up as a public hearing? We can always close the public hearing, have you continue questions if you wish. Anything right at the moment? Okay, then to the public, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council now on this resolution for a guide plan change from rural to low density on these 6 acres, please come forward. Seeing none, council, would you be comfortable going ahead and making the entire motion, closing the public hearing and also the resolution? Somebody.
I move to close the public hearing and adopt a resolution for a guide plan change from rural to low-density residential on 6 acres.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, council, further conversation about this. Any questions? Are we comfortable to go ahead?
Certainly.
All right, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. All right, moving on. Mr. Getchell, the Doran Kemper Certificate of Appropriateness.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, when it comes to improvements at historic properties, we have a process where we bring a certificate of appropriateness process through the Heritage Preservation Commission and then the City Council. And so in this case, as you know, this has been discussed in workshops, a possible adaptive reuse at the Doran Kemper House. And this would be a first for this property. And let me back up to, as you know, the Doran Kemper House is located Lake Riley Park near the Riley Jakes Barn and House. This is a structure that was originally built in the 1850s at 18925 Pioneer Trail. And then in 2002, the structure was moved to Riley Lake Park and then restored in 2006. In 2015, the house was formally designated as a local heritage preservation site, and the boundaries are coextensive with those of the Riley Jakes Farmstead Heritage Preservation Site. So therefore, that brings us to today. So you know the site, and we've been discussing an adaptive reuse. You also know we've had many events out there, and our local historical society does do tours of the site, and we open it up. But lately, we've been talking with someone that would actually be able to have an adaptive reuse at the site to be used as a bookstore, an independent bookstore. And that adaptive reuse would require some updates to the structure. And there's actually been updates already. Updated electrical, water service, sanitary sewer service, HVAC. And in 2024, actually, those water and sanitary sewer upgrades occurred. But there are other improvements coming, including adding a restroom, mechanical, and HVAC. So that building addition for the restroom, 165 square foot addition off the south side of the building kitchen is the restroom addition. And that is the piece that kicks in with the certificate of appropriateness. And that addition, the bathroom addition, the exterior appearance would match the character of the home. So as you recall, when you have these improvements, it's happened at Smith Douglas Moore, it's happened at Camp Edenwood. There's a certificate of appropriateness that the Heritage Preservation Commission, the City Council has to weigh in and hold a public hearing and agree that it's appropriate that these historic structures allow these improvements to be made and are appropriate. So at the May 19th meeting, the Heritage Preservation Commission reviewed. They didn't hold a public hearing, but they reviewed and recommended approval of the certificate of appropriateness, and now that comes to you to hold the public hearing and then adopt a resolution for approving that small addition.
Rick, maybe just a moment here, explain, is it the local designation that requires the certificate of appropriateness? And aren't there a lot of privately owned homes that also have been locally designated, and would they have to go through any process like this? Julie?
Mayor, members of the council, the local designation is what requires the certificate of appropriateness, along with, of course, as Rick mentioned, the improvements that are being made. With regard to privately owned, locally designated, there are not a lot of privately owned, locally designated. There are a lot of privately owned properties that have the historical property plaque that is an optional visual reminder of the historical significance, but not necessarily locally designated.
But if some property received a local designation, it would then require certificate of appropriateness each time there was a structural change to the exterior of the building, or is it a judgment call how large of a
There are criteria that are in place that if the improvements qualify and match those criteria, then it would require the certificate of appropriateness.
And this is not a concern to me at all if we cut through logs, but because it's not National Historic Register qualifiable or capable, or I don't know what the word is. That being said, you're gonna have to go through logs to get a doorway into a bathroom, I'm assuming.
Mayor, members of the council, yes, I would expect that is the case.
Okay. This, for the public, this is one of the, and council possibly, one of, I learned 4, I thought there were only 3. It's one of 4 original 1850s log cabins that are still in existence across the city. At one time, we believe there might have been 100, but they've obviously deteriorated and gone on their way. But there are still 4 today, 3 of them in private ownership, and then this one. So, all right, council, I guess I'll go ahead, unless you have a question at this point, and have a public hearing.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
It's a public bathroom, correct? Since it's going to be a bookstore?
So not open, once we lease this out to the bookstore, then the bookstore would have control over who used this bathroom. It's not going to be open to the exterior, I believe.
I think, Councilmember Toomey, it wouldn't be open to the exterior. It would be.
No, it would not.
But it would be part of the public bathroom for the bookstore, people who are, and this is what I think you're saying.
No, it wouldn't be an employee bathroom. It would be open to the
Correct.
public,
Okay.
but only during the hours that the bookstore was open.
Got it.
And I think that's what you're asking, right? So it's not a private bathroom for the
Right.
employees. It's
Right.
part of the bookstore, yeah.
Very much similar to the Cummins Grill, Cummins Phipps Grill home bathroom, which is anytime this house is open, it's available to the public. Any other questions before we open this up to a public hearing? All right, people in the audience, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on us adopting this certificate of appropriateness, please come forward. Seeing none, council, I'm assuming we could just go ahead and make the entire motion. Would somebody do that?
Close the public hearing and adopt the findings of fact and approved of the certificate of appropriateness for a building addition onto the Doran Kemper structure and adopt a resolution for site plan review.
Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, Mr. Getchell, moving on to the Danfoss guide plan change.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our last public hearing. This is a city-initiated comprehensive guide plan change. The request here is to change the guiding of 3 different parcels that are owned by Danfoss. As you are aware, Danfoss is eventually vacating their campus here in Eden Prairie after a number of years. And they have property that is a mix of industrial flex tech and office. So the city is looking to change our comprehensive guide plan from industrial flex tech and office to mixed use over the campus here, which is located in and around Highway 5, Mitchell Road, Highway 212, and Technology Drive. The Planning Commission did review the proposal and recommended approval of this on a vote of 7-1. I'm not going to go into a deep summary of this because Julie has a presentation that she would like to give, and I would like to turn things over to her prior to you asking any questions and holding a public hearing if that is okay.
Sounds good. Julie.
Mayor, members of the council, I have a few slides that I'd want to share with you tonight. I want to provide an overview of the current comp plan, some history of the property, and some discussion of the proposed mixed-use designation. So the slide before you right now demonstrates what the current comprehensive plan guiding is and the current zoning on the property. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see outlined in, I'm going to call it a dark black, are the 3 parcels that are subject to the proposed comp plan amendment. The darker blue indicates industrial flex tech, and that is on a largely vacant property up against Highway 5 and 212 and the site where the existing manufacturing building currently sits. The lighter blue indicates the property where the current office building is located. Then if you look to the graphic to the right, you can see the same properties, and they all are covered by a lavender color that indicates a current zoning of I-5 on the property. So even though there is an office guiding on a portion of the property, there is an I-5 zoning because that property actually has a PUD that allows an increased amount of office use, so it is consistent with that approved PUD. And before we kind of dig into more of the specific proposal, I wanted to spend a little time talking about what's the difference between the comprehensive plan and zoning, because I know at the Planning Commission meeting, those terms started to get used a little bit interchangeably, so I want to provide what the distinction is. And that comp plan is really the policy document that the city prepares every 10 years that looks out for a vision of 20 to 30 years of what the city envisions for the long-term needs. It essentially is the foundation for decision-making and establishing and communicating out that community vision. It plans for growth and development, addressing change in economic trends, demographics, and all of those sorts of things that tend to evolve over time. The zoning ordinance, on the other hand, establishes the specific performance standards that apply to a property. So for instance, when a development plan comes before you, that's where information such as a certain number of parking stalls are required, or a building height, or building density, landscaping requirements, all those specifics are built into that zoning ordinance, whereas the comp plan is that higher level. These are the appropriate land uses. This is what our transportation and parks and open space plans look like. And so with that kind of initial understanding, I wanted to dive in a little bit to the property history. This has been a legacy employer and business in Eden Prairie since 1965, initially operating as Charlene for 5 years before being acquired by Eaton. Eaton had quite a long-term presence in the community from 1970 to 2021. And then in 2021, Danfoss acquired the property, and they have been operating there and will continue to operate before they leave the community at the end of the year, as they've communicated to us. So these graphics show what the property looked like at the time of construction. So the industrial building, that large manufacturing building that faces Highway 5, was initially built in 1965. And then the office building that's visible from Mitchell and Technology was built in 1979. So you can see a 1964 aerial photo where the construction of that building or the earthwork is just beginning to occur. And this allows you to kind of see what the built environment was at the time that this property initially developed. And then the graphic on the right indicates, it might be a little bit challenging to read, but you can see that that manufacturing building has been constructed. The parking lot is there, as well as another accessory building close by the site as well. As you can see, there is not a lot of development north of 5, and there's frankly not a lot of development between what was then Charlene and Scenic Heights Road before you hit some residential development. A more recent timeline that I want to kind of provide some background for you is in January, Danfoss initially reached out to the city to communicate that they would be actively marketing the property. And in that meeting, their desires were twofold. One, they wanted to understand what the city would be communicating as an expectation for any new owners or acquisition of the property. What was the city's vision? Because they wanted to be able to clearly communicate to their broker, because at that point they had not yet picked a real estate broker that they were going to work with, and then also to communicate out to any developers that would be submitting proposals to acquire the property. They also were interested in understanding if the development timeline would meet their intended timeline. They have communicated that they would like to close on the property by the end of 2025. And so in talking with them, 5 months ago, our communication was not only sharing what the city's vision was of mixed use for the property for all the reasons that I'm going to get into here in the future, but also a city's commitment to, yes, we believe that we can help facilitate the entitlement and development review process of this property, but it will require a couple of things. It will require a development proposal that aligns with the city's vision, and it will require a developer and team that is very responsive to those comments that staff provides as we start to go through the review, and several iterations of a plan are presented. As you can imagine, every development plan, an initial submittal comes in, staff reviews it. There's ultimately some additional tweaks and modifications that need to be made with, maybe it's stormwater, maybe it's roadway design, maybe it's building design, but we would need a developer that would be very responsive to that in order to keep it on the timeline that they were looking at. So the city did communicate that we were supportive of the retention of the existing manufacturing building if, it proved that there was value there and that the market would support re-tenanting that building, but that the city also envisioned a mixed-use development or redevelopment for the office and the vacant property. If the analysis of that existing manufacturing building showed that there was not value in retaining that and that building would be scraped or demolished, then the city would be looking for further mixed-use development on that site. And all of that was certainly communicated back to them. And through February and March, as that property was actively marketed, we probably had 6 to 8 different developers come in and meet with staff, and we shared all of that same rationale and vision for that redevelopment. In fact, back in March when we were at our council workshop doing our annual development update, as we talked about all the different development potential throughout the city, that is something that staff shared with the city council as well, letting you know that that is what we were communicating out, not only to the property owner, but to interested parties and other brokers. And then in March, we also initiated that comprehensive plan amendment to solidify those communicated redevelopment goals. At the end of April, early May, Danfoss had selected a preferred developer. They came in and met with the city, and for the most part, they did come in with a concept plan, not an application. We're not yet at a point where we have an active application. Just a concept plan was shared with the city. And for the most part, it did align with what the city's vision was. It did show retaining that existing manufacturing building and marketing it for another user to move into that. It showed some mixed-use development along Technology Drive and Mitchell Road in terms of senior housing, some limited retail, some other types of housing could also be explored. But on that vacant piece just just south of Highway 5 behind the Lone Oak Commercial Center, it did show an industrial building. And staff has communicated back to that preferred developer that is not consistent with the mixed use vision for that site. And so that is kind of where we're at this point. We have communicated that back to them. They are back to the drawing board looking at other opportunities, looking at other commercial users that might be interested in the property. They're continuing to do their side of the work before refining a plan and coming back to the city. So why mixed use on this site, and why mixed use now? So when the city was updating its comp plan in, I'm going to say 2017 to 2019, we had an active and successful legacy business operating on this site. For those of you who have been on the council or maybe the planning commission for some time, you might recall when we were doing the comp plan, and there were some properties with successful, thriving businesses operating near proposed LRT stations, where we were thinking about, hey, we should maybe guide these properties for TOD. There was a lot of pushback from those property owners because they didn't want to be hamstrung, if you will, by what that guiding might be, right? And so you'll remember that those conversations were very robust, and there was a lot of angst, if you will, by those property owners. So that's one of the reasons why when we were doing that comp plan in 2018, 2019, looking at mixed use on this site was not anywhere on the city's radar, because this was an active property, an active company doing very well. We had no idea that they would be vacating the property during the life of the comprehensive plan. But now that this opportunity has presented itself, there have been some significant changes in housing and employment that have occurred since the adoption of Aspire 2040. And this presents a unique opportunity for the city to adjust the guiding on that property in order to continue to meet and maintain some of those goals that have been identified. Eden Prairie, as a fully developed community, has very few areas that provide opportunity for large-scale redevelopment. And, housing, particularly affordable housing, continues to be a concern, not only for Eden Prairie, but for the region and for the state. Employment has certainly evolved since the comp plan was adopted in 2019 with the effects of the pandemic. And the council certainly can recall we've had several office conversion projects in front of you over the last 2 years as the market adjusts for that. So looking at the long-term highest and best use for this property to meet changing community needs, including housing and employment demographics, the city's role is to plan for the long-term needs of the community. So looking out over the next several decades, out to 2050, Eden Prairie's population is projected to increase by 25%. In addition, we also get feedback through our community survey and other sources where our residents are asking for more destination retail, destination entertainment types of uses. We have several companies that reach out to us on a regular basis looking for sites, and as a fully developed community, we usually don't have a lot of available acreage to kind of point them in the direction of. So as we look at a 60-acre campus roughly, kind of becoming available and needing to address long-term community needs, looking at whether or not maintaining that industrial guiding, that office guiding makes sense in the long term, or if there is something bigger and better that can be done for the community. Looking at also the changing standards of industrial development. The existing manufacturing building built in 1965 certainly has a different presence about it and a different function about it than newly constructed 2025 modern industrial buildings. So, you know, understanding that there could be value left in that building, staff clearly communicated on multiple occasions, we're okay with and can support maintaining that existing manufacturing building if it can be re-tenanted. Will it maybe need some upgrades with regard to parking improvements or building improvements? Certainly, you know, depending on who the user is and what their needs are, there might be some minor adjustments that need to be made. But when we look at the balance of the site, we really do see that as an opportunity for mixed use. And it would be, you know, a missed opportunity if we didn't look at the long-term needs of the community in terms of this very significant amount of acreage becoming available. There have certainly been other examples of property that have become available, and the city has been patient in working with the developer in order to find the right use in order to, you know, see that be successful. A couple of examples that come to mind are Asia Mall. Gander Mountain sat empty for, gonna guess, between 5 and 7 years. The current Climate Tech building up in the Golden Triangle is another example. I think that building sat vacant for probably 5 years as well before it was re-tenanted by a new business that moved in from Hopkins. And if you've driven by, they are not only a thriving business, they're looking to expand, but they also made building improvements, and it went from being a dated building to being very refreshed and a very modern looking building. So, you know, we have heard from the developer that the market isn't there to support that mixed use, that there is an ability to be able to sell that property very quickly for industrial development because that is where the market is successful at this moment. But I would remind the council that this property has only been on the market for roughly 20 weeks. And sometimes we just have to be a little more patient in order to have the market move into supporting the long-term needs and the vision of what the community's long-term goals are for that property. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have, but that are my comments at this point.
Thank you, Julie. Very thorough. I just have one clarification or one clarifying question. Talk to us about the power of guiding, meaning that and the mixed use guide I think gives us the most flexibility, but meaning that if it was guided, some other piece of land was guided industrial, and in comes an apartment residential proposal, and at that point we rezone, what power would the guide plan have had in that sense, and what's the fear behind the guide plan saying anything, because knowing that it's not until the zoning and the actual proposal comes in that we actually get down to work?
So, for instance, think about some of the infill developments that have come before you recently, you know, smaller infill developments. Properties are guided rural. They've been guided rural for a long time, but the comp plan has guided them for low density residential. And the city has, again, in that case, kind of been patient and waited for the developer or property owner to be at a point where they're ready to develop and they come in with something. An alternative example is if we've got a property like Prairie Lakes, where that property was guided office, there was an existing office building on it. The office market, of course, has changed, and they've come in with a proposal to build some single-family homes or some villas on that. As a part of that development proposal, it was not only a rezoning from office to medium or low-density residential, but it was also a comp plan amendment. So the comp plan amendment is necessary in order to implement that zoning change.
But you're giving, I get it. I get what you just said. I just don't understand the big picture. What's the problem with whatever we guide tonight if it can so easily be changed with a new proposal that comes in and we rezone it?
Well, that is where it might be a difference of opinion between city staff and the developer. From city staff's perspective, looking at that manufacturing building, guiding it for mixed use, as is before you this evening, provides a clear communication that our expectation is mixed use. Because if there's not long-term value in that building and it needs to be demoed in order to be profitable or usable, we would want to see mixed use on that site. But if they can re-tenant that with some minor building modifications, that zoning that exists today is there in order to support that. The reason that city staff is proposing a mixed use guiding on that property is largely to communicate what our long-term vision is. But at this point, remember, we do not have an active application before us. So we have a developer right now that has been selected by Danfoss and is working on a development plan. Sometimes plans change. And so if they were to come in and say, well, we don't want to repurpose that building, we're going to scrape it and build a brand new industrial building, that's not what the city's long-term vision is for that site.
So it can be changed, it is fluid, but it is sending not only the message, but it's also telling all of us, this is where the city would like to see it focused, and then we get the opportunity, it may even support us, I don't want to say legally, but I guess that is a word, it may even support us legally down the road in approving or disproving whatever a particular zoning proposal that comes in if we had made this conscious decision that we'd like to see it eventually go down this other path.
Correct.
Okay. Council, any other questions? We will have a public hearing here, and you can ask questions now or later after the public hearing closes. You okay with that? Okay. Anyone in the audience? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to address the council on this resolution for a guide plan change from industrial flex tech to mixed use on this 40-acre parcel, and then from office to mixed use on the 17-acre parcel? Anyone in the audience? Yes, please come forward. Give your name, your address. If you work for a company, the company you work for.
Yes, I can do that.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Connor McCarthy. I work for United Properties at 250 Nicollet Mall, downtown Minneapolis. I'm a developer at United Properties. We're currently under contract to purchase the Danfoss property and to invest in it. On a side note, I'm a former Eden Prairie resident and a grad of Eden Prairie High School myself. I thought that was worth noting, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about this. And I do want to begin by acknowledging the city's forward-looking approach to this. I understand that the proposed amendment shifting guidance from industrial to mixed use is rooted in a vision of long-term economic viability and a desire to have complementary uses and not just industrial. And these are important goals, and I respect the city's desire to adapt the campus over time. And actually, that's exactly what United Properties is planning to propose on this site, is a mix of complementary uses. That said, I'd like to provide a little bit of context and nuance into the work that we've done and why I am generally opposed to the amendment that's in front of you tonight. The site contains viable, high-quality industrial assets that have been taken very well care of by the users, Danfoss and Eaton, and before them. The comprehensive plan guidance sends a signal, whether intentional or not, that these existing uses are no longer desired. Comprehensive guidance changes are followed by zoning changes to align them. And that introduces long-term uncertainty for tenants and potential future employers in Eden Prairie at these buildings. And it makes reinvestment in those buildings a whole lot riskier for somebody like myself. It puts functional and productive space at a disadvantage. On the flip side, to the other part of the site, and as I say that, I think it's important to describe that I view the site into two distinct areas: the western part of the site that has the existing industrial and the east part of the site that has the existing office building. The portions of the vision for mixed-use environment on the site don't necessarily align with current market realities. And while the property has only been on the market formally for 20 weeks, there has been a team responsible for looking into opportunities for this. And retail in particular is one we've heard as a main focus by staff. We, United Properties, have surveyed dozens of retailers, more than 10 grocers, and many entertainment users who have lacked desire to occupy this space, primarily because it is not at the center of gravity near the Eden Prairie Mall, nor the center of gravity which retailers desire in the city of Chanhassen as well. United Properties has concocted several concept plans. Julie mentioned one that and over time continuously reduced the amount of industrial on them. Our first plan was actually, it was all industrial. And then since that time, our most recent plan includes a fabulous 55-plus Amira community with additional housing and smaller retail components to it. As someone with a real stake in this, I want to see it succeed for the city, community, for us, obviously. And I'd encourage the council to consider maintaining the current guidance until we have a plan that we can talk about. This is a very abstract concept to just re-guide a property without actually tangible pieces of information. If change is necessary tonight, I would ask if you'd consider making it just to the eastern part of the site. I think the western part of the site should be viewed differently. Furthermore, if change is made to the guidance of the eastern portion, I would just like to ask that in the near future, when we do provide a plan, that the council support a reasonable blend of uses that can provide housing, retail, and employment opportunities for the city of Eden Prairie, and ones that complement the immediate surrounding area. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Connor. Well spoken and articulate. I think the Eden Prairie School System did good with you, so, all right. Say what? Yeah. Others, anyone else to come forward and address the council this evening? All right. Do you want to go ahead and, are you comfortable making the motion and then we'll continue to discuss it? Or would you like to just close the public hearing and ask questions before we make the motion? Your call. Okay, go ahead and make the whole motion. I didn't hear any great dissent on that. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing and adopt a resolution for guide plan change from industrial flex tech to mixed use on 40.31 acres and from office to mixed use on 17.31 acres.
Is there a second?
Second.
Julie, we all understand what mixed use is, but does a guided mixed use plan, and I think I asked this before, so I think I know the answer, I'm just wanting it said out loud again, preclude an industrial component in a larger mix of maybe not a PUD, but of a master proposal plan coming in?
Mayor, members of the council, with the existing zoning of the manufacturing site being I-5 and staff consistently communicating that we would support reuse of that building, I think that a mixed-use guiding on that property, as well as the balance of the site as well. Again, we've talked many times through the comp plan process and other development projects about the city's desire to communicate early and often to developers and property owners what the city's vision is, and this is an exercise in doing that. I can certainly understand Connor's comments about being a little hesitant on parts of developers, but I think that there is reuse of that building, and the city's commitment to that can be certainly handled through that guiding. The hesitation that I would have about removing the mixed-use guiding from the existing manufacturing building is that if the guiding were to remain industrial, we could get an application tomorrow that says we're going to take down that existing building and put a brand new one there.
I'm just thinking on the east, so I appreciate that on the western portion, so mixed use over the entire thing. We get that, or I do. I think you do too. But on the northern segment of the eastern half, so the part that's up on Highway 5 there, behind the Lone Oak or whatever that is, okay. Right now it's open, it's treed. I would like to see a destination something. I would like to see something that's, a grocery store possibly, which I understand, Connor, they've tried. Something that would be entertainment. Okay, we all would like to see that. But if at the end of the day, the best that we could do to get a lot of what we wanted on the southern portion of that and some smaller, because nothing says that has to be fixed exactly. So some smaller, not office, because that's not selling, but industrial, something up on Highway 5 were to come into the mix, we as a council would be legally okay, and we could, even though it's guided mixed use, we could make that decision because zoning is different than guided. I'm saying guided sends a message, but we're not tied forever to what we approved tonight as a guided plan change. Is that correct?
So with the mixed-use guiding, there are several zoning districts that would correspond to that mixed-use guiding. There's a mixed-use zoning district that talks about a certain ratio of commercial uses or office uses and residential, and it does not include industrial uses as a permitted use. Mixed-use approach could also be several different zoning districts coming together. Maybe it's regional commercial to support that destination entertainment. Maybe it's high-density residential to support some senior housing or high-density residential apartment development, townhomes. It could even be a mix of residential uses with I'm going to use a technical term, smattering of office or retail scattered in there as well. But it generally does not include industrial development, industrial manufacturing, warehousing, wholesaling types of uses.
And my question really isn't what it included, because I understand it doesn't include it. My question is more that we will have the power ultimately to decide what we want on that property, included even changing the guide plan designation in that one little section if we want to down the road. We want to send the message what we're looking for. We want all those things like entertainment, grocery store. At the end of the day, if some really cool project came in with a small portion way up on Highway 5 that's industrial, and it needs a little re-guiding on that strip, that's our power to do that.
Yes, I would agree with that. That you guide it, if you were, for conversation's sake, say, to guide it mixed use this evening, the property owners or developers continue to market it. We get 18 months, 2 years down the road, and the market is not adjusting to meet that vision, then the city council would have the opportunity to come back and revisit that.
Okay. I was trying to ask questions for all of you as well and for myself. Does that answer, do you have more questions? Did that create more questions, council?
Actually, it did answer some questions that I had.
I'm fine.
Are people fine to vote? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution for the guide plan change. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, 5-0. Okay, thank you, Julie, for the very thorough discussion on leading this discussion tonight. And Connor, thank you for your comments too. And again, we're very proud of you to have this position and come before your home city council tonight. So thank you. Okay, Mr. Getchell, we are moving on to payment of claims, I believe. I'm trying not to miss it this evening. So again, payment of claims, all the different expenditures, bills we paid all through the since our last meeting. Council, any in the long list of expenditures, any items you wish to learn more about or question? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve payment of claims as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Freiberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Councilmember Toomey.
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. Okay, Mr. Getchell, ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have some housekeeping to do. So, couple things with section 2.26 and 10.05. So, first reading of an ordinance with 2.26 relates to moving buildings into and within the city. So currently, the code says that when you move buildings into or within the city, it must be reviewed and approved by the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, which is the Planning Commission. And there actually is very little room for the Planning Commission to comment upon the building move because almost all of the detail as it relates to how a building is moved is within the building code, within the jurisdiction of the building official. And quite frankly, I can't even remember many instances of when this has happened, but even when it gets to the Planning Commission, there isn't much that needs to be done. So the question was, in terms of the city attorney and the building official, was, well, you don't necessarily even need to do this, so why don't you just pull this out of the code and let this be an administrative approval anyway and not need to go to the Planning Commission. So that's that revision there. In terms of the false fire alarm piece, I believe that is just something that relates to aligning our fee schedule in terms of how many fire alarms that's, well, let me read this. I should read this. The code requires a user fee for any false fire alarm that reports more than 3 false fire alarms in a calendar year. The fee schedule, however, provides for a user fee for all false fire alarms in excess of 2 per year. The fire department intends that fees be imposed after 2 false fire alarms as stated in the fee schedule. The proposed ordinance amends to provide that the user fees be charged after
On the third.
On the third.
Yeah, on the third
Right.
one. Perfect.
So I did not want to, I just read that. I don't want to guess what that was because I would have screwed it up.
No, thank you. That's all good. Just quick question, curiosity with the moving of buildings. Usually the laws that we pass as a city come out of problems, issues, something. So it sounds like the problem here is just the clarification piece of streamlining the process a little bit. But we actually haven't had, 13 houses be moved and have this problem rise up. It's more not a technicality, but again, just cleaning up our code so that if this did come about, this is the kind of thing just doesn't need to go through planning. Is that it?
I think that's right. I mean, I think we get, 1 or 2 permits per year for moving a building, and it's
Okay.
so, the staff have just noticed that the process is cumbersome with this planning commission review,
Okay.
and it doesn't need to be.
And the issue here is not moving that house out of the city, out to Carver County somewhere. The issue is if you move it and if you plop it on a lot here in Eden Prairie, the exterior siding or whatever.
Right. I think currently the code says, I think if you're moving a building out of the city, then the building official can approve that. It's just is the street okay, that sort of thing. But the planning commission review was when you're
If
moving
it's
it
inside,
into the city.
yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, council, this is not a public hearing, so any questions about either of these somewhat housekeeping perfunctory? All right, could I have a motion then to approve the first reading of this ordinance?
Move to approve the first reading of the ordinance amending City Code Section 2.26 and 10.05 relating to moving buildings and Section 9.10A relating to fire alarm systems.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Kathy, that was an aye, right?
Yes.
Okay, just wasn't sure, it just sounded more like something else. All right, sounds good. Like a nay, but it was during the aye and I was confused. And okay, so, Mr. Getchell, moving on now to appointments, students on commissions. I'm so proud, by the way, of Eden Prairie. I've said this before. Sorry, I'm going to jump in here. But I've said this
Go
before.
ahead.
That I go to these mayor meetings, and several times the topic has come up how difficult it is in their cities to get student involvement. And some of it's that, again, Minnetonka has, I don't know, 4 or 5 school systems, and the Minnetonka School District has 13 cities, and we're just so lucky to have just Eden Prairie. But we don't have issues with it, and we have such quality applicants. So anyway, take it away, Mr.
Yeah,
Gates.
no, I agree. I can't remember which director, but I thought one of them had said too that they had talked to a colleague about how does your city get so many applicants too? And it was another city that was having an issue getting applicants. And, once again, we had more student applicants than we have room for. And again, it's been really positive. It's a great way. It's a great program for our students to become involved in our commission. So yes, we've done this for a number of years, and our student on commission program, it runs with a school year. So what we like to do is prior to the end of the current school year, students apply in the spring, and then they're appointed before the summer. So in the summer, here we are in June. So then the program would start at the next school year. And once again, we're in a situation where we have way more many people than we have room for. So we weight the program for incoming seniors. And then we tell the juniors to apply again as seniors next year. So you can see here in the packet, we received more than 54 applications. And so you can see in your packet, there are a lot of names that we're proposing to appoint to the various commissions. And we will hold a orientation in late August. The terms will begin in September, and they will run through May of 2026. And wasn't it just in May that we held our banquet, and we had a great turnout by the students that you gave their certificates to that were at the banquet and participated in the event, and many of them were there. So they're involved. I think we also had a group of them that actually had the video project, and we played the video at the banquet for the group that did that for the Heritage Preservation Commission. So they attend the meetings, they do projects, they're at our city events with the commissioners at our community events. So it's great to see them be a part of the community. So you do need to make motions to approve all these individuals, and that list is in front of you.
And just to clarify for the residents, they don't vote, but they really participate. And they really, we have a great adult leadership that pulls out of these students their thoughts and their ideas and conversation. And then if there are, like for the HRDC, there are actual activities that HRDC leads, and the students get so involved in it, and the HPC too. And so it's wonderful.
Sustainability and
there's 5 groupings, and there's 5 of us. So we'll make it all in one big motion, if that's okay, Maggie. And then second, the entire everything. So Councilmember Toomey, if you want to start with the Flying Cloud Airport Advisory Commission.
Sure, I'll move to appoint to the Flying Cloud Airport Advisory Commission Gia Nair, Avery Robinson, Om Rashwan, Liam Kreimer, Ava Moncleveland, Kaiva Cheka, and Ava Willett. And I am sure I butchered some of those names. I totally apologize.
We're doing our best. Councilmember Ryan.
Appoint to the Heritage Preservation Commission Tatum Hirschby, Katie Kreider, Fiona Rode, Anika Rice, Jaya Agrawal, Nico Allen.
And appointing to the Human Rights and Diversity Commission, Ikra Ibrahim, Abdul Ra, Man Ali, Jia Chen Chalani, Gutri Ka Rawela, Roshini Drakshapali, Anjola Oluwa Raimi, Nawal Abdullahi.
Appoint to the Parks and Recreation and Natural Resources Commission, Jack Dennison, Seth Gilligan, Simone Kura, Allison Schussler, Daniel Siegert, Everett Gilligan, Annie Dirks, and Rose Wicks.
I will point to the Sustainability Commission. I'm going to give this my best shot here. Just bear with, please. Atharva Sarma, Ipshito Thawarzi, Shali Rana, Avini Munheshwa, John C. Okay. Pele
So
Rice.
Kumar, just so get a last name in there.
Okay, I apologize on that. John C. Sensthur Kumar, Paley Rice, and Cheyenne Sheety.
All right, excellent. I think all of us did okay. Thank you, Sarah, for the phonetic pronunciations. Appreciate that. Is there a second to all of these appointment motions?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All of these wonderful students are now appointed to our commissions. Council or Mr. Getchell, is there anything else to come before the council this evening? There is a council member report. That's why I asked you in the beginning so that I wouldn't forget. So thank you so much. Please, Council Member Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all know, we won the 12th year in a row, the best place to work. And when I read it, I felt really proud. And I want to say thank you to Rick Getchell running the place, and also the council members. I mean, we make sure Rick is happy, and Rick makes sure his employees happy. And I think the 34th, the mid-size organization or something like that.
Just for clarification, it's the Star Tribune's annual best places to work across the state. And there were large employees, which were 500 and up, I think. And by the way, Bloomington got on that list. They were the only government unit in that list of larger employees. And then in the mid-size employees, there were, I saw 75, it might have been more on another list. We were 34th. Chaska was 43rd, but only 2 of us around the whole state made that list. But as you pointed out, I guess the bigger news is this is our 12th straight year of being one of the very best places to work. And if employees are happy and they enjoy coming to work, they serve our residents so much better. And so to your point, it's Rick, his leadership. It's also all of our senior staff sitting over here, Robert and Julie and Amy. And it's our 2 wonderful chiefs, Scott and Matt. And it's the people that really help the culture. It's really about culture. And it's about the positive culture that's here in Eden Prairie, keeping staff. And we're often the place to come to work. And when we have openings, we get people from other cities wanting to come here. So
including policemen, firemen.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's interesting, when I was thinking about talking about this, I just went to the Google and Googled it and say, the best city to workplace in Minnesota. Guess what? Eden Prairie came up to the top.
Well, AI can't be wrong. So, well, actually, they are wrong a lot, but no, that's cool.
Congratulations, all.
Yes.
Good work, all the directors. And
Rick, I'm putting you on the spot, but you lead this organization. Anything you want to say? And because they're really giving you feedback. I mean, they're the ones that sent in the surveys or however they gather that.
Well, yeah, they're not giving me feedback. Again, Mayor, I think a couple things. I think you were right on the numbers. I'll talk a little bit about the process. So, companies choose to participate. So it's companies of all sizes in the state, and each year it's a survey, anonymous survey that employees of all company sizes fill out, and you have large, medium, and small companies that fill out. And each year it is different. You redo the survey each year, and employees are asked a number of different questions about the environment they work in, like you were talking about, kind of a climate survey about their job and their position and their benefits and their support. and their supervisor and their position. And so it is about kind of the climate that they work in. And, as you've said before, Mayor, you've got, almost 300 full-time people that work here, and the full-time people are surveyed, and there's almost 1,000 total employees here. And it's about those employees and the environment that they foster for each other, and the environment that's made amongst all the employees that work here, all the way through peer-to-peer to the supervisor, up through each department, and the culture that's fostered throughout. And, as you talked about, a stable elected leadership is always a very important part of a community that people come to work in as well.
Great. And okay, I know we want to be done here, and I will say this fast, but I want to compliment all of you, especially after this weekend and all the questions about being an elected official, and why sometimes, people are asking, why do we do it? We don't do it for the money. We often really truly do it because we want to serve our community. But with some of the risks today and other things, it is becoming more troubling, I think, in many ways. So I just want to kudos to my colleagues up here. We have an amazing city council, super positive people. We don't always agree. We have different perspectives we bring to the table. But these are, Eden Prairie people, you elected consistently, as Rick said, over the last 14 years, just consistent council members that have this pro-quality of life attitude that we communicate through the budget that we approve, because as I've said through years and years and years, if you want to see the priorities and commitments of a council, look at their budget. That's where they put the money, and they put the money there based on the residents that elected them and told them that's where you put the money. So I'm so proud of where Eden Prairie's landed today, and the fact that our employees love to work here. So, and again, it is a lot you, Rick, and it is your senior leadership. So thank you, everyone. So,
Thank you.
yes, and to all of you. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the city council meeting tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, this meeting is adjourned. All right, thank you. I think that was nice.